So first off, is that normal? Is that something people go through? Yes. I went through that many times where I lost the motivation to animate. There were times where I just wanted to quit. I hated animation. Not in the sense like I hate cartoons and stuff, but I didn't feel I was good enough. I felt like no matter what, I was just failing and failing and failing and failing. I hated my work. I didn't want to continue with it. We all have those moments where it's like, is this really what I want to do? Am I putting enough time into it? Am I working hard enough at it? And there's no like one answer that's just gonna like, hey, yeah, keep going, you're gonna do great. And, oh, you're right, I am gonna do great. Everything's happy now. If there was, I wish maybe there is. I just haven't found it yet. And a little Danny, thank you so much for the sub. Also, hello. So for me, the way I try to approach this and how to get out of it is kind of multi-step. There's a few different things that I do, and I'll still have times like this. The last time was when was it? It was last year, like November-ish, somewhere around there. November, December, I can't remember exactly, where there was this moment where I didn't know if I really wanted to continue animation. Again, not that I don't like it, I love animation, but it's just like, am I doing enough? Am I progressing my skills enough? Am I learning enough? Am I like doing this enough? Do I want to do something else? You get these doubts in your head. And those doubts are not something to just ignore and just go, well, no, I'm going to keep pushing through. You want to go through and think about it. Be objective about this. Is this something you actually truly love? And for me, when I ask that question, it's like, yes, I actually do love it. Whenever I see an animated film or something that's like just beautifully animated, it's like, man, I want to do that. That's my goal, my dream, is I want to like make someone smile with an animation that I've done. I want to do this kind of stuff. So be honest with yourself. Is this something you really, really, really want to do? And if the answer is yes, and you are motivated to go through that with that, okay, how can you now push through this demotivation and get that drive back? Well, for me, there's a few different things. One is take a break. It's okay to take a break from things. It's okay to go, okay, I want to learn animation, but I'm just going to take a step back and refresh myself. Find the reasons I love this. That's totally fine. It's something I actually recommend a lot of people, even if you're going to animation school, don't be afraid to take a term off and just take a step back and refresh yourself. If you're pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, you're going to burn yourself out and you're going to lose that motivation. You're going to forget why you're doing it in the first place. So for me, it can be simple things like just taking a break, watching television, watching cartoons, binging like Steven Universe or whatever like your favorite cartoon series is. Just do the things you love to do. Spend some time where you're not worrying about where you're going to be. Just enjoy the moment. Read a book. Go outside if you can. Now, once you kind of refresh yourself, you've taken that step back and you've let that kind of anxiety drop away as much as you can. As you approach it and come back, you have to figure out what wasn't working. What were you doing that led you to feel demotivated? And how can you change that? How can you approach it? So, for example, for me, when I was in school, the thing that I realized this too late. When I was in school, I pushed through to the point that I burnt out so bad that it took me about 2 years to recover from it, both health-wise and mentally. Don't do that. Do not do that. You want to like find out why and how to approach it. For me, the thing that I found out was that I was just too negative on myself. I put myself down so much and put my work down so much that I could never see any positivity in it. No matter how good I became, or let me put it this way, no matter how much better I became compared to what I was, it was never good enough. I was never good enough for myself. I was never good enough for what I wanted to be. And honestly, when you think about that, that's never going to change. You're never going to be as good as you want to be because you can always be better. And when I learned that, it took me a while to figure out how to deal with that. A big part of it is when I'm looking at my own work now, I try to look at it as if I'm looking at a friend's work or Cameron's work or someone else's work. So when I critique myself now, and I have to do this consciously every time, I try not to like pick it apart and like hate on it. I go, okay, if Cameron animated this, what would I tell him? What are the positive things on there? Because that's the first thing I would focus on anyone else's work is, okay, what are they doing right? Because that's just as important as what they're doing wrong. And then, okay, I'm doing all of these right. Okay, what am I doing wrong? And then don't just go, I'm doing everything wrong. It sucks. That's not a good critique. You want to figure out why you're doing this wrong. Okay, what am I doing? Okay, the spacing is boring. Okay, I now have a step that I can use to achieve that. How can I make the spacing more interesting? You go through it systematically, and it's a long process. It's not going to happen overnight, but that helped me a lot. And now, because of this kind of process that I go through, and specifically the finding out what I struggle with and then trying to address it, I have seen myself get better and better more quickly because I am addressing specific problems and not just hoping for the best. But also I am a little bit more positive on my own work, which really helps avoid those lows. Now, that is a very specific thing that I went through. In your case, you've got the issue of you don't have a guide, you don't have a mentor, you don't have someone that you can like point you in the right direction. That can be very, very tricky. And like, you don't have the money for an online school. So in those cases, there's a few different things you can do. Let's say you have, and this goes for a lot of people here who are maybe like too young to get a job, you aren't able to get a job, or you don't have the extra money or time to go out and get a job to pay for an online school. Whatever reason, you do not have the funds to like get a mentor in some way. At that point, it's going to be it's going to fall down to self-learning. You have to work on being able to teach yourself, and that's a hard skill to learn. It takes a long time, but it can be things like getting the Animator Survival Kit, reading through it, and then trying to understand, okay, how can I make this better? How do I understand this and create this? And taking the time, doing those exercises, going through, doing master studies, okay, finding out how they did it, work through it. I know a person who they used to work at Blue Sky, unfortunately, or fortunately until recently. And when they started animation, they were told by a recruiter that they should just quit and never even try to apply again. The recruiter was having a bad day, apparently. And that demotivated them for a while, until they kind of got the no, screw you attitude and went, no, you know what? I'm going to prove that I belong here. And what they ended up doing was they would watch This was in the VHS days. So not DVDs, not even like nowadays where we could scrub through. This was VHS days. They would watch VHSs of cartoons and rewind, play, and just watch and do master studies of the cartoons to figure out how they made it work. How did it look good? And they studied and analyzed. It's not just looking at it and going, oh, that was pretty, let's try that. No, it's understanding why. It's that self-study. You need to really analyze what is going on. So if you have no funds whatsoever, that's part of the process, is you have to put in that work to find these out. And this is where like you can jump into streams like this, ask questions. Agora, the Agora community has a great bunch of videos. You have Sir Wade. You have all of these resources that you can jump into and ask questions. Be active in the communities. Ask questions. Now, part of that is also time management. Honestly, that's going to be probably the hardest one. It's still something I struggle with. Time management takes time, and doing all of this self-study takes discipline. That's the hard part. You can't wait until motivation, like inspiration comes in. You know, I'm going to study some animation. Yeah, let's go down. I'm super excited. Or any of that. You need dedication. You need to basically go, okay, if I want to achieve this, I'm going to sit down every day or every other day or whenever I have some free time. I'm going to sit down and do so many hours of work. And you have to do it. Set an alarm on your phone. Like, do whatever it is that you need to in order to sit down and do it. The more you do it, usually it takes about 2 weeks before it starts becoming a habit, and then a month before it kind of becomes second nature. But those first 2 weeks are going to be hard. And it really is just building that dedication. The habit of just doing it. Whether you feel like it or not, you're going to do it. And think of it like this. If you're working at an animation industry job, there will be days when you don't feel like animating. There will be days when you don't want to sit in front of Maya and work on this kind of stuff. But you have to do it. It's your job. So when we're learning animation, if that was the job we want, we gotta get into that habit of just doing it. Now, you do want to take breaks, and you don't want to push yourself to the point where you hate doing it. Don't like go, I'm gonna work 10 hours a day on this, to the point where like you lose your life and everything like that. Like you're just holed up in front of your computer. No, it's a balance, but you need that dedication. That dedication is what's gonna get you through everything. So with that, the other thing you can do, if you don't have enough money for like an online school, iAnimate, Anim School, Animation Mentor, any of those, there are mentorship programs. So there are Kyosil, Sir Wade has a mentorship program. There's reviews that you can get from Agora. I think they're like $20 or something like that, $30. You could use those every once in a while to kind of find your path. So for example, 30 to 40. Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. So you could like work on some stuff, and then maybe once a month, maybe once every 2 months, you send in a review to Agora, for example, or you could go to Kyosil, whatever. But let's say we'll use Agora for example. You send in a review and you ask them specifically, what do I need to focus on next? What are the things that I'm struggling with? If I wanted to like create my own curriculum, what are the things that I need to before like my next check-in in 2 months or 3 months? Okay, here is the checklist. Now when on your own, you go through and you make sure that you understand all of these elements. And okay, you might not be getting reviews from a mentor that whole time, but you could jump into like these streams, the communities, and get feedback from people, or like I have questions answered here where you can kind of course correct a little bit. It's not going to be as ideal as a mentorship where you have that one-on-one, okay, you have to do this, but you will get there. It comes down to the dedication. That's the hard part. But that's the hard part in anything. I see so many students, unfortunately, and this just is part of the process. I see a lot of students where they jump into an animation school, for example, Animation Mentor or any of the animation schools, and they have this idea that because they paid the money and they are now enrolled in an animation school, that's it. I'm going to be an animator now. Yay! Just do the coursework and yeah, I'm done. No, not at all. You have to put the work in to get to be an animator. If you're just paying for a program and then just following along with the assignments without actually studying and putting the dedication in, doesn't matter. So whether you go to an animation school, whether you're learning on your own, whether you're kind of supplementing your knowledge with other things, it really comes down to the dedication. That's where you will succeed. Yeah, so I know I kind of rambled on a lot of different paths there and we kind of zigzagged through it, but I hope that kind of makes sense. I hope that helps. And if there's any other question you have on that, definitely let me know.